Hello. What's up, Facebook family? How are you? My name is Dr. Nima Rahmany. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm going to give a few moments to allow for people to kind of file on. I've posted um, the earlier that I was going to be speaking about this really interesting link that I have made, and doing it for the purpose of maybe helping a few people who are actually struggling with this problem. It seems to be a source of shame and guilt that a lot of people are holding on to, and it's come up so often in the cases of my coaching practice, that I just needed to actually share this with as many people as possible. So hey Francis, what's up, Doc? Good to see you, brother. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Nima Rahmany. I've been a chiropractor for 16 years and now have moved on to the coaching world, helping people with transitional anxiety. And what transitional anxiety is that feeling of stress and of expansion when you're moving from one relationship to another, one career to another. I've been through a divorce in my life, and breakups, of course. So I understand this whole concept of, should I stay or should I go? Will I be okay? Went through a career change and went through the exact same thing. So I've become somewhat of an expert because of my training as a chiropractor and, further education in the personal development world, helping people with stress-related disorders. And I just kept seeing the same things happening over and over again. Anxiety being one of the main issues plaguing many people. And in my coaching practice, I have a program called Powerfully Aligned. And what I do is I help people struggling with transitional anxiety, people who can't sleep at night, people who are having those chest pains, panic attacks, fear of going out, into open spaces, people who are in hiding. This is a very common thing. It's actually more prevalent than you think. One of my good friends, who's an ER doctor, has said that about 70% of the cases that he sees in the emergency room are anxiety-related disorders. So it was interesting because I went into it because I was struggling throughout my chiropractic career. I was struggling so much with anxiety, entrepreneurial anxiety, that I just knew that, hey, what's up? What's up, Ali? Nice to see you. And hopefully see you soon, darling. And so I moved on because I saw that most of the clients coming in to see me in my chiropractic practice were struggling with anxiety-related disorders. So I started creating these workshops in my practice, and it became so fulfilling to teach that I gradually transitioned out. And so this is what I do right now. I'm currently in Germany, just outside of Frankfurt, taking Byron Katie's School of the Work, because I'm constantly doing personal development work, and I'm really into mindset. Mindset pretty much seems to be the buzzword now. If you look at every single teacher who is teaching business, entrepreneurial, hormone, functional medicine, you name it, guess what they always go back to? Mindset. So it was a vision that I had several years ago. 3 years ago, I made a declaration. I was leaving my chiropractic practice so that I can teach this exclusively. And it's been happening. And so now what I do, I've noticed people with transitional anxiety, what I do is I actually get them to find the root cause. And so leads me to the topic today, which is abortions. Now, never in a million years did I imagine myself doing a Facebook Live broadcast about abortions. I mean, who am I? I'm not an obstetrician. I've never had a baby before. I've never gotten anyone pregnant before that I know of. None that I'm paying for, at least. So, what business do I have speaking about that? Well, I want to share with you one of the case studies that I have been working with. Is a gal who has been struggling with anxiety for 1 year and panic attacks, and has tried everything, gone to the doctors, taken medications and done therapies and all of that stuff. And she just wanted it to be gone. And when I enrolled her, I told her that my job is to actually cut to the truth, because anxiety is usually a distraction from an inauthenticity or a lie or a repressed guilt or a shame. And guilt was the big one. Guilt and shame was something that she was hiding. Turns out she had endometriosis for 7 years, and soon after her endometriosis, 7 years going on, and then she had a hysterectomy. Her doctors said, we got to get rid of the hysterectomy, get rid of the uterus. Got rid of it, and then boom, right away, like clockwork. After the uterus was taken out, she got paralyzing anxiety, and it turns out that she was having an affair with her husband, with a person from her past. And what ended up happening was her hiding that 7-year affair. It was creating a lot of anxiety within her, but it was soon after she started having her affair, that's when she started developing the symptoms of endometriosis. Now, when I told my good buddy, who's a ER doctor, about this story, he goes, endometriosis, anxiety of the uterus. And that just knocked me on my ass. When he said that, it was like a door just opened up, because it's been what I've been teaching all along, but somebody in the medical community pretty much, who's been an ER physician for 15 years, pretty much nailed it. He said anxiety of the uterus. So when she had it taken out, now the body didn't have the uterus to display those symptoms, and then so she just developed anxiety. When we delved in and we saw what was going on 4 or 5 years ago, she had she got pregnant. And at that time, she didn't know whether or not it was her husband's baby or it was the affair guy. And she went and had an abortion. And so she had been packing this shame and this guilt and this regret for years. And any unexpressed, here's what I want you to know, any unexpressed guilt, any unexpressed shame, anything that you want to hide from other people, especially something like an abortion. It's not just abortions, but it's just, I've seen like 5 of my clients coming up with this exact same thing. So it's like, okay, I got to share this with people. I got to help some people with this. Any unexpressed shame or guilt like that, the body has to do something with it. If you're hiding and you're not telling the truth and you're not sharing because you feel such shame and guilt, there has to be some form of an expression in the body for that type of energy. It's a story that we have in the mind. The story is, I'm a horrible person. I am a bad person. So we start developing anxiety symptoms. If you don't get this right, it will develop into autoimmune disorders. And so once and I'm going to share with you another story about that. So once we cleared her resentment towards herself about the affair, about the abortion, and we did what this process that I teach called the overview method to my clients. Once we cleared that, she all of a sudden felt this lightness. The judgment and the shame and the guilt for her abortion, the judgment, the shame, and the guilt for, the anxiety for the affair completely dissolved. Now, please be careful here. I'm not condoning affairs and I'm not condoning abortions. That's not what I'm doing here. We make decisions at any given time. We don't, at the time, I believe that we make the best decisions that we are capable of, given the environment that we're in, given the information that we're given. I truly believe that we human beings are making the best decisions for ourselves at the time. Brene Brown says that in her book, Rising Strong. At the time, we are really doing the very best that we can. What we have a tendency to do with shame and guilt and regret is to look back on people, on ourselves, and start judging ourselves and beating ourselves up. 10, 20 years ago, I should have made this decision. And the shame, the result is shame and regret and guilt, and anxiety is the only thing that shows up in order to distract us from those feelings, because quite frankly, we'd rather have anxiety to blame rather than ourselves. And so in order for you to heal from this, why you need to know this is because you could be running a story of shame and regret because of an abortion in your past, and you have no clue that you can actually clear this, that you will not be able to be free in your mind unless you learn the proper skills of unpacking those feelings. Simple. It's that. It comes down to that. Wonder how much this has to do with the way society still attempts to control women's bodies. Yeah, of course, Emily, you would go there because, you're throwing your story, patriarchy society, careful now, you're throwing your story onto the mix. It doesn't have, it's easy to blame other people. What I'm trying to do is help people empower themselves. And Emily, friend to friend, you love to blame. This is not a blame game. This is about empowerment, and playing victim to society does not empower you. So this isn't about empowering you. At the time, we make the decisions for ourselves. And at the time, we're making the best decision that we possibly can. Nobody forces anybody into abortion that you don't actually truly make that call for yourself. Now, I know that there's outliers. There are other cases out there. But careful with going to that whole story of society, patriarchal, controlling women's bodies. This whole thing it's not serving you, and it's not inspiring either. God bless you though, Emily. There's some stories there that would really warrant and help yourself to unpack as well. So the second case that I wanted to give is, oh, by the way, that first one, completely, she's out of her anxiety. She feels freedom. What we also had her do was to go and make amends with all of the people involved, her husband, her father, all of these people that she was judging. And just by doing the work, we were able to free her from her anxiety and clear the regret and the resentment. Second case study is a woman who 20 years ago had an abortion in a relationship that it was going nowhere, and got pregnant, and then started realizing that, oh my God, I'm going to have this kid. This kid is going to have a miserable life. She grew up with some poverty. So having no money and having the financial responsibility and being in a relationship which she just absolutely knew was dead end. So she made the call to have an abortion. And for 17 years, she was beating herself up. The guilt, the shame, the regret, putting on a mask, pretending. And soon after, all of a sudden, she starts to get these symptoms. Well, she was hugely symptoms of anxiety. And soon she gets cancer. She got about 5-6 years ago, develops cancer. Now, the cool part about her getting cancer, and this might trigger some of you, we did the work on it, we did the overview on it. She discovered that the cancer was her permission for herself to finally start taking care of herself. Quit smoking, because when you feel guilt and shame, if you have something that you feel guilty about, you do not want to take care of yourself. You start to eat shitty foods. Any attempt at self-care, any attempt at eating right, any attempt at, being healthy gets thrown out the window. You actually do not want to take care of yourself. You're just like, screw it. I'm going to treat my body like crap. I'm going to eat crap. I'm going to slowly kill myself. I'm going to start smoking cigarettes. The cool thing about her getting cancer was it was the first moment that she started giving herself permission to start looking after herself. So that was the benefit of her getting cancer, and which led her to having a conversation with me, where we discovered the underlying root cause of where she was getting her anxiety, which was the shame and the blame for the abortion. She couldn't even speak without crying. Like, she couldn't even say the words. She was shaking and tears were starting to flow. And it was really cool to be able to help her unpack that guilt and the shame and the regret of her abortion. And again, I'm not condoning abort. This is not a pro-life, pro-choice argument at all. This is about helping somebody with anxiety. And that person with anxiety has a past story of shame and regret and guilt. I don't have an opinion. I don't have any. I'm literally in the middle with abortions. If it's something that you want to do, that's up to you. If it's something that you want pro-life, fantastic. I'm glad that you feel that way. If you are pro-choice, great. I'm happy that you feel that way. This is not a pro-life, pro-choice conversation. This is about blame, shame, guilt, regret, that kind of thing, which is the underlying, well, I believe is the this great discovery that I've made that most people, absolutely, Diani, it's pro-freedom. Good to see you, darling. It's really not about blaming. It's about really finding the underlying root cause of what it is. And this person, if you have anxiety, there definitely is a past story of blame, shame, regret that hasn't been unpacked yet. I've created this methodology based on the teachers that I've taken, like Byron Katie, John DeMartini, Andrew Bernstein, everything that I've read and digested in my whole career of chiropractic and what I've learned, I put together in a easy to follow methodology that transforms the guilt and shame. And what we discovered with this gal who was dealing with it was that when we unpacked it, she found her power back. She found her freedom back. And she's able to now have a conversation. We went back and she had a conversation with her ex about the abortion that she had and how she was blaming him and all of that. And she completely transformed that. What she discovered in the process was that the guilt of the abortion made her a super mom. It made her an incredible daughter. It made her an incredible wife to her new husband who, she just bends over backwards for, and she's become this incredible stand for her family, which is what her superpower is. And she wasn't giving herself credit that the guilt that she was blaming herself for was driving her absolute incredible motherhood. Now, I'm going to offer that to you. Is that the thing that you feel the most guilt about is probably what's driving you to become such an incredible human being. If you can think of the thing that you appreciate most about yourself, people who have the guilt and the shame, they generally don't think in these terms. My experience with my clients is they prefer to actually be where they are rather than to honor where they are actually incredible human beings. But when you really look and you are that incredible human being, it's because of the guilt. And so guilt isn't such a horrible thing when you really look at it. And these two case studies were fantastic examples of how when we transform the guilt, which is part of our dark passenger, which is that I'm not good enough feeling, that I'm not good enough voice, that little voice in the back of our heads it's never really going anywhere. It's always there. The question is it in your driver's seat and is driving and running your life and causing you to participate in behaviors that destroy your health and destroy your relationships and cause you to isolate? Or is it something that actually is serving you, that gets you to step up and to serve at a greater level? I mean, I look at in my life, the friendships that were broken down, the things that the quote unquote horrible things that I've done to people, the things that I feel the most guilty about are what's driving me to do such incredible work for other people and to be of service to other people. And what makes it so fulfilling for me when a client of mine says, Nima, like for example, one of my clients who just for the first time in years was able to get on a train and go swimming, helping her with her anxiety because she was able to step up and embrace her fears and to expand into the unknown. Or other clients of mine who are getting into cars and driving long distances through their fears and their anxieties. They weren't able to do that. Those incredible breakthroughs that I'm able to help facilitate with my clients have all been driven by guilt from past past transgressions that I've done to myself and other people. So guilt serves in many ways, and it was really refreshing when I'm reading Brene Brown's work, is saying guilt is not a terrible thing. If we can embrace guilt and look forward to guilt, it doesn't have to run our lives. We can actually do amazing things to other people's lives with it. And it reminds me of another client of mine who had not one but 2 abortions. And guess what her superpower is being a stand for children. And another client of mine who had 2 abortions as well. And her highest value is how deeply loving she is to be a super mom for her kids. And I guarantee you that it was because of the past abortions, and they all confirmed it. Each and every one of my clients confirmed it was because of what they did that drove them to become who they were, because of the guilt. So this is a story of turning guilt around into your superpower. And I'm here to offer you a thought, is that the guilt that you're feeling, the stuff that you are ashamed of the most, is what's driving you to be the best version of yourself. And we all need some motivating factor. There's 2 parts. Oh, God bless you, Sam. Miss you, hon. Miss you on the dance floor. There's 2 parts to it. There's a part that, holds us back. And then there's a part that really drives us. And it's in that understanding of that midline, that powerfully aligned midline that's not too ashamed and not too, we have a pride and we have a shame. There's 2 parts to us. And when you learn how to walk that tightrope of, God bless you, when you learn how to walk that tightrope of guilt, shame, and pride and innocence, we require both. In order for you to be at your very best, in order for you to be the greatest version of you, you require both guilt and innocence, pride and shame. If you only had one without the other, you wouldn't be relatable. One of the biggest compliments that I get when I speak, after I speak, by the way, I'm going to be in Brisbane, Australia, end of September, speaking with Ant and Kate's group in their Juice Plus business, and also doing the overview experience in Brisbane last weekend of September, first day of October, 30th of September, October. And in October, we're going to be in Toronto. We've moved the dates from September to October. We're going to finalize all of those. Please send me a private message if you'd like to be one of the ones included. We have a limited seating. But one of the coolest things that I've discovered is how to teach people to balance out the duality of their personalities, the 2 bipolarness, the guilt and the innocence, the pride and the shame. And one of the greatest compliments that I get when I'm speaking in public is when people say, wow, you're so relatable, you're so real, you're so, vulnerable. And it's because I've done a lot of work on taking the things that I'm most guilty about, most ashamed about, the things that I don't like about myself, and really finding the value and the benefits of it. And it's because of the lies, the lying that I used to do, the cheating that I used to do, the inauthenticity, the way my way of being that was incongruent, and my way of being that was inauthentic. That version of me is what drives me to be the person that I am today, that really fights for people to create the best versions of themselves, dissolving their guilt and their shame and becoming more powerful human beings. Why? So that they can ripple effect and serve their families and serve others. Like Diani, for example, Diani Scruton, who been blessed to be able to work with, such an incredible human being, was stuck in her life, dissolved some major stories, dissolved some guilt and shame. And guess what? She's in school now to become a nurse. And I got to be a part of that, that really warms my heart, that now I can imagine you, Dee, in the hospitals, helping people and sharing that beautiful heart of yours. And you were at a point where you were stuck and you wanted to end things. And love you too, hon. I can't wait to meet you in a few weeks. To be able to see that you're going to be, making an impact in people's lives because of the fact that you're you're going to be this incredible nurse, and the patients who are the sickest on the planet, the sickest in the community, get to experience your space. And that's because you went and did the work, and you jumped in, and you went all in. And, this, this life that I'm living now, which is dedicated to serving people and creating ripple effects in other people, is because of my past guilts, because of the things that I don't feel so proud of. And when you really look at it in that way, you can really turn it around and see that those were responsible for your superpowers. And so I'm just so grateful, blessed and grateful to be able to share this message with so many people from around the world, and be traveling and learning and teaching everything that I learned that I know is going to help liberate people. Because my purpose on this planet is to alleviate suffering through love, and not just by giving love, but by helping people remove the barriers to the fact that removing the barriers of the realization that love has been with them all the fucking time. There has been nothing but love in your story. And I use the overview method as my tool to help people see that love has been present all along. And once you get that right, you are dialed into your powerful alignment, and you aren't afraid to speak your truth. You're able to hold space for other human beings who definitely need you. And then this ripple effect is created in families, all in your family, and now in Dee's case, all over the world, because in her community, because the patients that are going to be around her are going to benefit from her transformation. So if you've been dealing with anxiety, if you have a past, not just abortion, I'm just using that as an example because it's just, we're at the school of Byron Katie, and this woman just got up and bravely admitted, I want what you just felt that brought you to tears. I want to find mine too. You are my hero, Nima. Grace, honey, you're going to be there. I guarantee you. Grace just jumped in. We had a conversation. You're going to get that. I guarantee you, once you change that story, guaranteed it's going to get there too. And what I'm here to, there was this woman who got up. The reason why I did this broadcast is because there was a woman that got up today in the workshop, and she just bravely shared what she was most ashamed of. We actually did a worksheet where we were writing down what we were most ashamed of. And we all did it. There were people that, admitted that they had, promiscuous sex and all the usual stuff that we all have a shame about. But she got up and she had, a story about her abortion that she had 41 years ago. And she blamed her husband for it because they were dating at the time, and they got pregnant, and then he said, no, I don't want the baby. And so they had an abortion, and she blamed him for it. And for 41 years, so they eventually got married, they had kids, but for 41 years, she was blaming him. This was a story that she was making in her own mind, and it destroyed her marriage. And today was would have been her 41st wedding anniversary, but they divorced. And it was because of the story that she made up, that she blamed him for it, that it was him. And so, wow. And I just thought of all of the clients that are in my program that have dealt with abortion, and it's created anxiety. And I'm like, I gotta broadcast this. So I apologize if this was triggering you. Sorry, not sorry, but this message has to get out. And I really want you to tag somebody or share this with somebody who really needs to hear this. And if you have been struggling, and if I'm speaking to you and what I'm saying has resonated with you, not just in the realm of abortion, but in the realm of something that you feel guilty about, reach out. I'm offering a couple coaching spots to have a discussion to see if you're ready to change that story. Because who would you be without the guilt story? What opens up for you when you do not have that guilt anymore? What becomes possible? It takes work. It takes bravery. It takes resourcefulness. Hit home for you? Absolutely, Sam. It takes resourcefulness. It takes bravery. It takes courage. It takes commitment. and a reminder that you're not going to be living forever, and that you're here for a very short period of time, and that you're here to make a difference on this planet, and you can't do it with a story of I'm not good enough that's predominating your life, that you can't do it with a story of resentment or guilt or shame. And that story actually blocks you from making the impact that you were meant to. And for those of you who are ready to make that bigger impact, I invite you to reach out to me, send me a private message, and let's have a conversation to see if you're actually ready to unpack this and to become the best version of you. And I want to know, what is the best version of you? What do you want to see? What is it that you'd like to create for yourself? What's not working for you? And let's see if that's tied into this story of shame or guilt, not necessarily an abortion. This was just an example. But I'd love to hear from you and be of service if this is something that you're ready for. If you want to remain the victim and it's serving you, this work isn't for you. It's for you who really want to get over this story. It does. Many of us have been there. Didn't actually touch on this one. Yeah, it's a biggie. And it's you're not alone is really what I want to say, is that you're not alone. And for those of you who jumped in late, I encourage you to go back and rewatch this and to share this with people that you know need this. And I'm here for you. This is what I'm here to do. I'm here. My purpose is to help eliminate suffering, and to do it in the best way that I know how, which is through my process called the Overview Method. And I'd love teaching it and do it live and one-on-ones across in Skype across the world. And I look forward to crossing paths with you. And if you have any questions, please let's continue this conversation in my group, The Art of Powerful Alignment. Request to join and ask questions, and I'd love to share. Take care. See you at the next perfect time.